Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome here at Crypto Hash Review, where we educate and disseminate information about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies from a Muslim perspective. Today we're going to discuss the relationship between private keys, public keys, addresses. Now, let's just fire up Blue Wallet. So we already know from previous videos how to make a new wallet. So go to Add Now, give it say new wallet, not here. New wallet, choose Bitcoin, and I choose create. Now, we already know, if you refer to our previous video, we'll talk about private keys and generating a truly random private key. But as you can see here, what we have here is called a seed phrase. Now, this seed phrase is a list of 12 words, sometimes 24 words, that are used to generate your private key. Your private key is a number, not these words. So if in the past you had to actually write down the number way back in the day when Bitcoin first was born, but obviously it has developed and now they've made easier, user-friendly ways of interacting with the private keys. And I'm sure in the next 10 years' time, they're going to make even more easier than this. Who knows how it's going to be? But effectively, what we have here is just easily 12 words that if you write these words down, you should be able, it will generate your private keys, which is your actual number. But anyway, that's a private key. So that is your, let's start that one. So that was your private key right here. Okay. Then we have, tap on this one. Then we have something here called XPub. So XPub, it has a little number right there at the bottom. Right there at the bottom. So that XPub, that is effectively a number that is generated from your private keys. There's a connection between the private keys and the public key. Now, your private keys you have to keep safe. That's what you use to sign your transactions. Your public key is different, and this is your public key. So I just tap copy. So now I want to say your pub key. So that's your pub key, and this is your private key. So here I'm going to, can we add text on this one? Okay, that's way too big. Is there a way to make this smaller? Edit text. Here we are. There we go. There we go. Doesn't need to be big at all. So this effectively is your public key. And if we go back here, if we go to export, this is your private key. So let's do a screenshot, for example, on that one. I just want this. That's all I want. Done. Okay, so if I come here, I should be able to now add a photo. Which would go right there. So this is an example. This is your private key, and this is your public key. So pub key. There you go. That was really terrible. Okay, but we're not finished yet. Now, from your, what's the purpose of your public key? From the public key, we now can generate millions and billions of addresses. So come back here. Now, this thing here, we press receive. This is your address where you can receive Bitcoin. This address is generated from your public key, and your public key is generated from your private key. Why have these 3 steps? Let me explain. If you just used the public key as your address, so you had your private key and you had your public key, and you said just those 2 things, what that would mean is that you would only have one address, because one public key matches with one private key. And that would mean that if you use that address and someone knows who you are, then they will know all your transactions from one. I mean, you just know it's just one single address. You know, I live at 123 Cup Lane, so that's literally your address. But what in the Bitcoin network, instead of having one particular address, you have multiple addresses. So let's grab this one and put it over here. So here we now have address. And I'm going to add some text. And this will be your actual address. That's your address. Can you, yeah, that's it, just leave it at that. And you can, this is one address. This will be effectively address number 0. And once I use that address, I can now generate address number 1, and then address number 2, and then address number 3, and so forth. So from this one public key, you can generate multiple millions and other addresses, all labeled from 0 to whatever number it is. So in Blue Wallet, for example, there is no way to view your addresses, as in it gives you the first one there, because the whole purpose of this wallet is to be easy and simple. If I was to receive Bitcoin on this wallet, then the wallet itself, so if I was to receive Bitcoin's address, the wallet itself would now move to the next address, and then the next address, and then the next address. So the very first wallet, the very first address in every public key will always be the same. The very second one will always be the same. So they're actually in order. They're actually made in order. And that's essentially how your wallet app is able to see how much Bitcoin you have, because it scans the network, starting from address number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up until it gets to addresses that have no transactions. That's how it knows how much Bitcoin you have. And it just follows down the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, blah, 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 until you get to the address you've used, and it calculates how much have you sent, how much you've received, how much still exists, and then it gives you the tally of how much Bitcoin you have. Okay, so what are the use cases that we have that we can extrapolate from this public key? Well, what that means is that, for example, imagine I wanted to have an online e-commerce website, and I wanted to accept Bitcoin on my website. But I don't want to obviously put my private keys on the website. That's ridiculous. Literally, once the website is hacked, they can just take all your funds. But what I can do is upload my public key to the website, for example. And then the website itself would generate the addresses for each transaction. So when someone comes and wants to buy some shoes, it will go to the next address and then generate a transaction. They will pay a transaction. It would record that transaction, put it into your e-commerce website, and then the next customer comes, it gives you the next transaction. So with the public key, you can give it to certain platforms or organizations or whatever, and that will allow them to generate all the addresses they need to address to pay you. Now that's not great for privacy, because anyone who has a public key knows every single transaction you have. But in terms of hacking, that means that you can essentially allow websites to generate new, fresh addresses without compromising your private keys. So your private keys always remain safe with you, but the private keys will be on a certain website. And you can go one step further and you actually have your separate node. So you have your own computer, even in your own home, and then your website would communicate with that computer and then get the public keys from that computer. And that's actually quite amazing. You can actually have your wallet here on Blue Wallet. You give your public keys to your other computer on your at home, and then every time someone goes to your website to buy some products, your website will communicate with your home land-based or home-based computer and get the next transaction, and then you're done, which we will demonstrate in future videos. Anyway, that was a brief overview of the relationship between private keys, public keys, and addresses, and what things you can use the public keys for, and how addresses are not the same as public keys. Sometimes when explaining, I mention private key and public key. I don't really mention the addresses, but you get the gist now how to understand it. We hope you find this video beneficial and useful. Hopefully this information can help generate and spark some ideas in your mind how you can build your business, your infrastructure, your own future e-commerce website if you wanted to, or something like that. And we hope you can use and implement these ideas to help yourself, your family, and the ummah as a whole. If you like this video, press like, subscribe to our channel, spread the word to your friends and family, and may Allah give you plenty of Bitcoin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.